and welcome back to the Very Real Estate Effect podcast, a show focused on real estate investing in Quebec. I'm thrilled today to have a wonderful guest, to have Patrice Menard, the president and founder of PMML, which stands for Patrice Menard Multilogement. For those who don't know you, you absolutely do not need an introduction. But for those who are maybe listening outside of Quebec, I'll just give a quick bio. So you've started PMML with your wife about 12 or 15 years ago. You've grown it to be now the largest brokerage in Quebec by transaction, by assets sold, and now you've also started mortgage brokerage, and now you've even ventured into semi-commercial, land rental, and essentially you've been building a fabulous little empire over the last decade. You also teach at the Quebec Real Estate Investors Club, and you're involved with numerous organizations throughout the province. Is that a fair summary?
That's very good, Axel. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the invitation. Of course, it's a really good introduction. But yes, PMML is the largest commercial real estate firm in the province, agency in the province. But what is surprising for many people, we also the largest mortgage brokers firm in the province, as commercial business. And so we started in 2008 with my wife, and now we have a team about 100 people. It's about 45 employees, 55 brokers. We have office in Montreal, Laval, South Shore, Quebec City. Now we're in process to opening office in the next 2 months in Gatineau and Sherbrooke City, where those markets are, by the way, very, very, very interesting right now for investors, Sherbrooke and Gatineau.
Yeah, and they're probably markets that are a bit underserved from the multifamily standpoint.
Absolutely, and the point here is because, of course, about multifamily, we're completely dominating the market across the province because PMML have over 800 property under contract right now. It's about 400 under a brokerage contract for financing, and maybe about the same 400 about to sell the property. And the largest we can see in the market, the number 2 maybe have 30. So we're just completely dominating the market. And I find out now that we, of course, PML going, the more the year advance, we're going to larger transaction, and we start to compete with international firm like CBRE, GLL, Colliers, and Cushman, and so on. And we find out that we were mainly built on the mid-market. But now that we're going in the bigger property, since the last 2 years, we grab a really serious part of that market. It's interesting to see that those large firms, international firms, they really concentrate in the Quebec City, Montreal, downtown, maybe Laval, downtown Laval and South Shore, like Distrant and all those. But they never going out. They're really invisible when you go. Example in Granby, Chambly, you go to Saint-Jérôme, you go to Blainville, Boisbriand, you go to Trois-Rivières, Sherbrooke, Gatineau, Saguenay, Chicoutimi. We still have large building in those areas, and but those firms are not there. So we like to call us a provincial, an agence provinciale with their provincial agency.
Yeah. And lately you've had a lot of growth. You've been opening a lot of offices in those kind of satellite cities, and it really allows you to go tap into this really local market, which gives you a big advantage.
Absolutely, because those markets are not organized. And that's what we did, by the way, with multifamily. That's how we start. Because when I started with my wife in 2008, you have no firm in the province, no agency, real estate agency in the province that was focusing only on multifamily. Like I said, the international firms, commercial firms, they're doing with big transactions in multifamily, but not in the mid-market and even in the small market. So when I talk about small market, I talk about between 6 and 50 units. And when you go to the mid-market, between, let's say, 50 and 100. So when we start, we were, very, of course, small. We were 2 person. And so with that, we organized the market because no other firm have done that before. So that's what we did. And now we see the result today.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to do the same thing in those Sherbrooke, Gatineau. Of course, you have many commercial brokers in those areas, but these really small firms. So I think we can give the visibility that in all the data, because PMML is built on data, a solid culture, business culture, okay, with incredible people inside. Brokers are amazing. The mystery staff is are committed, and so we build something solid. And I think, but the backbone of our business is data.
Mm-hmm.
We have the largest database in commercial real estate in the province, and by far. So that's the main focus are, because no real estate agency in the province have a developer full time.
No.
We have 3 full time. Okay, so we're working with AI and all this stuff. So yeah, we're happy. Yeah.
And so it's interesting that you mentioned how much you've organized your business around this data, the data collection, because the value in data is only once you process it and what you can infer and learn from it. And I know that's one of your big strengths. Another of your big strengths I've always heard and seen actually is your mindset and how you view situations, how you interact with people. And I was hoping to take a bit of time today to go and unpack some of those things maybe that you do, some things that you've learned because you've been involved with hundreds of transactions. So first of all, as a question, so many investors think that investing in real estate, you're buying brick, you're buying revenue, it's just about the numbers. And yes, the numbers are important, but it's also a lot about the mindset. And I was hoping to get your insight on what exactly do you mean by that?
Really good question. In fact, you're right. When people talk about real estate, commercial real estate, investment properties, they think it's about the numbers. Of course, you're going to rationalize your decision by the numbers. It's important. I think it's important to know the cap rate and all, the mathematics behind the investment. It's very important. But more than this, the investment property market, it's a very, very, and I mean very emotional market. What I mean by that is you're dealing with people who, let's say, especially in the province of Quebec, because if you go to Ontario, BC, you're going to see that a lot of apartment buildings, in case of multifamily, are owned by big corporation, big REIT. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you see it when it's mainly large building, maybe 50, 100 units and up, and 200-300 units. It's not rare to see that in the market. When you go to the province of Quebec, it's mainly the apartment building industry is mainly a mom and pop industry. And so right away, you have a different approach when you approach and you do transaction. First, mom and pop, the typical story will be Italian who came here in 1950, 1960. They came to Montreal. They opened a business, pavement business. They work a lot, just enough for 10 years to grab some money and invest in an apartment building in 1970. And 1970, they buy a building. 5 years after that, they bought another building, and so on and so on and so on. Today, the guy who came here, when the mom and pop came here maybe 40 years ago, they have 300-400 units by the profit from the pavement business. You understand? And after that, we'll be with refinancing and then growing up. So those people, and we'll say the same thing with the Greek who came here. He opened a pizzeria and so on, invest in real estate and so on. The guy from Poland come here, invest, opened a shoe store and did the same thing. Okay, but those people came here with no education. I mean, no school education. Yeah. They came here and they work hard, but they came here with financial wisdom. that financial education, that means not the sophisticated education in financial, but the one that the basic that you need to buy asset, and your asset will pay your lifestyle.
Mhm.
And that's what they did. They work hard, they buy apartment building, and now they can send their school to the their children to the nice school and so on. Why I tell you all the story? Because when you approach a seller who have this story
Mhm.
and own the building the last 40 years, send his all his children to the nice school. Now today, the same children are lawyers, planificateurs financiers, financial planner.
I know, yeah.
They are a doctor. They have good jobs,
Mhm.
and very often those same children, they don't want to take care of the portfolio of the parents. For them, it's all problem with
It's
toilet.
just a liability.
It's an asset, but they don't want to do the work to maintain the asset. Okay,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So now you see you have a lot of frustration from the parents who don't see their children managing the portfolio properly, and prefer have the nice job and the cottage on the north and spend their weekend over there instead of a renovating apartment.
Mhm.
And now you're a broker or you're a buyer, and you approach this person, and now you're going to tell them that you're going to steal their proud, because their proud is not in their diploma. Their
No.
proud is not what they built through the years. Now, because if you have 400 units, 300 units today, you're worth about 25 to 40 million dollars. If it's off, because often they don't, it's paid for.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of money there. You see, so you go and you ask them to sell their property. It's not about the money. They don't need the money.
Mhm.
It's their proud. So you take their proud of what they built in the last 20, 25, 40 years. And now, just for the fun of it, try to talk with numbers with them. Is not gonna work. They don't care about
They
the
don't
number.
care
They
about the
don't care
number.
about
Yeah.
cap rate. They don't care about this. They only see that you're gonna remove from them. You're gonna buy from them what they build,
Mhm.
and that's what I mean by emotion. And you see a lot of that in the province here. And again, and also, but you always have that negotiation fact. So we start a negotiation. Sometimes I like to tell the story that we start a negotiation at 7 million, and now we do counter offer at 7.5 million. After that, we do a counter offer at 7.1. At the end of the day, we finished the deal at 7.250, and now, and probably sure that the buyer will maybe probably will be ready to go to 7.350, and maybe the seller will be ready to go to 7.150. Okay,
Mhm.
100,000 more, 100,000 less. People negotiating, and we go through the transaction, and at the end of the transaction, people are fighting for $2,000. Believe me.
Exactly.
So okay, but if you come with them with a counter offer 50,000 less, 100,000 more, they will probably say yes. But at the end of the transaction, after 2-3 months, the due diligence and really hard question about how you operate the business and blah blah blah, you see that people are going nuts for $2,000. Now it's not about the number, it's about the ego of
Yeah.
people. And you see, so to respond properly in your question, numbers are important, but how to deal with emotion and people skill are so far more important in real estate investment. And that's why mindset and personal development is at the top of our priority.
I love the example that you used about typical for Montreal, the Greek family or the Italian family, because just thinking off the top of my head, I know one in each, and that's exactly what happened. The parents came here 50 years ago, and they built an empire, and so on and so forth. It's really interesting, and so you haven't been involved with all these transactions. I guess you can start to see patterns over time, and you mentioned how much you like to collect the data, and I can see how it's so true that people will leave 50,000 on the table at the beginning of the negotiation, but at the end it's a $1,500 invoice that's going to make the difference, even though it's peanuts, and that's not what it's about. And as you said, it's about ego and the perception, and people love to have the feeling that they won the negotiation.
Absolutely.
Whereas the negotiation, you don't win. It's a win-win game. everyone needs to win for people to be satisfied to walk away from a transaction. And so I was going to say, over time, are there particular characteristics that you've observed from those successful investors?
The successful investors, the characteristics is that mainly they are really strong with people skills. The kind of seller that I like is really good at negotiation, but not at the not firm, but good. I mean that example, we gonna negotiate after we agree on the price, because the process to buy a negotiation start when we have an accepted offer, because now we need to go to due diligence, financing, and so on. That's where you dig into the transaction, you see problem in the property, and when I see that people, experienced investors, because like you said, we made transaction with people who have 1,000 units. They don't need brokers to do transaction. They know how to buy building and sell building, but they use us because of visibility and experience and negotiation. We're up to date to the market. We know exactly who's the buyer in the market and so on. That's why they use us, not to tell them what to do. Exactly. But I find out that the best experience I got with experienced investor is people, they're really good at the visit, the building relationship with the buyer. They already know that they're going to have to renegotiate sooner or later with them. So at the visit, they are really smooth. They like to talk, tell the story, really good storyteller about how they acquired the property and what they did in the property, the renovation, the upside of the rent, and the story about the janitor, how he is good. And so when you see that with an experienced seller and you have a new buyers and now you understand, you see it. Now you say, oh, right. Now the seller is now doing his speech, So it's important because if you have the goal of a broker is to build that relationship between a buyer and a seller as soon as possible in a transaction. So when you're going to go after that with the second negotiation, it's not always second negotiation, but often it's going to happen. At least you're going to have some people who talk to each other with a certain understanding and where they came from. And that's the goal of a broker. And but that's something for sure that I see. The other things also is what I see from experienced investor versus a beginner is that's very important for your auditoire today, okay? For your audience, sorry. So for the audience, I would like to say to you, when you call a broker for a property for sale, don't ask question about the listing. Don't ask question about of course, you can ask question about the listing, but don't ask question about information is already in the listing.
That's already available.
Okay? Yeah. Because now you look like a beginner right away, okay? You're going to ask question about how many 2-bedroom, 3-bedrooms, what about the renovation? And as a broker, we're not there to read you a listing. And why I think this, because it's always like this, I don't know, and why, it's, they start to argue on the cap rate and so on. That's what the beginners do. When we have an experienced buyer, first of all, he's going to call you. And the first thing he's going to try to make friend with you. Okay. So instead of insulting the broker that the price is too high, okay, he's going to try to, but he's going to say, hello, Patrice, how are you? Remember we talked about this property last year and we made the visit 3 years ago with that property and we were not able to close, but we went, pretty, close to add a transaction together. And so on, blah, blah. By the way, after 2-3 minutes, I'm calling you about this property. And now that's what they do. So can you tell me more about it? And they just shut up. They listen, okay? An experienced buyer want to know the story behind the listing, not what is in the listing. So they're going to tell you what's the story about the building. So they say, so example, since when the owners bought the property? 10 years ago, 5 years ago? What they did in the property in the last 5 to 10 years? What's the story behind it? Why they want to sell this property? Always, sometimes the real information is confidential, but we know as an agent how to explain a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Why they want to sell, because an experienced buyer want to know three things. What happened in the past with the property? What's the story behind this property? Okay, that's the first thing. Right now, what's the situation and why is it going to the market? And more important is, what can I do with it? Okay, so we have three things. What's the story behind the property? What's the reason that right now is hitting the market? And also, what's in for me in the future in this property? What's the upscale? What's the upside? Okay, and so we're not talking about how many bedrooms and what's the roof and blah and blah blah blah. We try. By the way, PMML, we have some very detailed listing and try to do our best on this.
Yeah.
But mainly, when you talk with broker, try to know the story. And to be a good broker, I think you need to be a good storyteller. We call that story selling. We have internal training about it, and that's what people like. Seller like that. Buyers like we tell the story about a property. They want to know more than the listing, and at the end of the day, that's how you sell it. That's how you build a relationship. So that's the that's the main difference I see from beginners to the experienced buyer.
That's you make an excellent point that one, obviously it's not just about the numbers, but it's about the story. It's about, and one question I always like to ask when I call for a listing is also, I look on the rôle foncier who owns it and do a bit of research, but then, I ask the broker, like, what's the profile of the seller? Like, kind of how old is he? Why does he not want to keep it? And so on and so forth. And because it's true that, as I say, transactions are for machines. But people, we like stories because, we're not machines and we're emotional beings. And so there's always so much more than just, it's making $60,000 revenue a year. Like, okay, I can read. Thanks for the listing. That's, I don't want to say it's obvious, but there's so much more behind it. And even though we're buying brick and roof, you're right. It's so emotional, even as even for an investor. And so, over time, you've also seen, every day PMML, you get phone calls, your brokers get phone calls about new investors wanting to jump in. And so and first of all, we all know investors that say, I'm going to buy. And then 3 years later, you see them again and they've bought zero property. So that happens. But what do you think makes the difference? What sets apart those who actually start one day, and start with a duplex, start with a 5-unit, it's okay, versus those who actually stay on the sideline, they look, they crunch, but they never pull the trigger? What sets those two groups apart?
Well, of course, it's about the mindset, how they have trust in the market, and mainly how they trust themselves, how they can manage and buy a property. And that's very important because what we see is, of course, like you said in the beginning, I'm teaching at the Real Estate Investment Club of Quebec. By the way, it's about 15 years I'm associated with this organization, and they're awesome. It's incredible what thousand people came from that organization and have success. And I've met so many people who start over there with them, and today they have 600,000 units. One of them have more than 2,000 units. Start with the teaching of CEQ, so a real estate investment club. But mainly what I see, because I see many people came to those training and never do something also. Okay, a few majority will act on it. I mean, that's a society. Any field, you see that many people going in, but few of them are doing something with it. Okay, and any teaching. But the difference, it's more about the personal confidence. Some of them also, they came over there. Some people call a broker or call they want us. Someone want to start, and they want us as a broker to convince them that the real estate is better investment than stocks or anything else. And I think we have very, in fact, the very successful investors with stocks. Okay, and in fact, the most wealthy people, contrary, we all see all the big asset will being the big fortune will were with real estate, but that's not true. If you really look, the real fortune are people who build business, and also a lot of people, like Warren Buffett, who were more in the stocks than real estate. But I can see that the largest people, then if you go to the mid investors, it's with real estate, really.
Yeah.
And but people try to convince us that real estate is better than stocks, and that's not a job. When people call me about that, I know that this guy is not really. You know why? Because once someone right now is already convinced that real estate apartment building is the best place to invest, even if someone is convinced about that, he's still gonna have difficulty to find something good. So I don't want to go to convincing about to invest in real estate. We have thousands of people already convinced that real estate apartment building is the best thing. So now we need to find the best property for them on the market.
Yeah.
And the difference with people is people analyze a lot in too much in the cap rate and the Excel spreadsheet. They're going too much in details, and they try to rationalize their decision with numbers. And this is not the only things you need to know in a property. Simply said is, can I raise the net revenue of this property or not? What is my chance that I'm going to buy this property and raise the net revenue? How can I improve that? Improve the net revenue, and there are two ways: by put the incomes up, okay, the revenue up, or by reducing the expense. Right now, the market, I think the best way to do it is to raise the revenue. But the question you need to ask yourself, and again, that's someone who have over 3,000 units who told me that once. He said, Patrice, when I look about the net revenue, we say, how much dollar is gonna cost me to raise my net revenue from $1, and how much dollar is gonna cost me to drop that net revenue? Okay, I mean the income or the expense.
Yeah,
how much going to cost me? Exactly. How much going to cost me? I'm going to focus on the right side for this property, and each property is different. So that's the only thing you can aim to see, because the market will go up, will go down, the interest rate will go up, will go down. Again, of course, you need to take out those parameters, because right now the interest rate is about 1.5% for 5 years. And if you do your calculation on the refinancing in 5 years, and you take the same number, 1.5, you're going to have a problem, because what's the chance in the 5 years that we're still going to be at 1.5? Maybe yes. This week we heard with the taux directeur that it's going to be the same about the next 2 years.
Yeah.
But I will not bet all my investment on this. So simply said, people are too much analyzing and not doing. And the only difference between doing and analyzing is the confidence. You need, and the best story for that is when I teach at the real estate club, I teach people to how you can be the ultimate expert in your farm, in your area, in your zone
niche
that you invest. Example, someone niche. I mean that the niche market, and also I mean by apartment buildings, that real estate. Okay. And also example, someone who invests in NDG, how it can be the best in NDG. That's very important, because someone called me, Patrice, I want to buy a property where anywhere they have a deal.
Yeah,
anywhere they have a deal. Okay. Anywhere? Okay. Where do you live? I live in South Shore. So you're ready to go to Saint-Jérôme to buy? It's a little bit far, but I find a deal. Yeah. The problem with that is they look for deals, but they're never going to be able to see the deals, because you're not expert. You cannot become an expert in all the markets.
No.
So I like the person who will tell me, Patrice, I want to invest in Notre-Dame-de-Grâce, NDG, Côte-des-Neiges. I will go maybe to Verdun, Lachine, those 4 areas. Okay. And what they're going to do, they're going to go deep, and they're going to take the last 24 months of every transaction in those areas. They're going to study those transactions. They're going to know the cap rate. They're going to know which property been sold and why they've been sold at this price. So they're going to become an expert in this area. And now they're going to get out of the Excel spreadsheet and now they're going to see a property coming to the market. So instead of take 3, 4, 5 days before making an offer, when a property came to the market, when you are an ultimate expert, you know everything, you study the last 2 years of that market, you're going to be able to make a decision in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
it's not more than this. You see the property, you call the broker, you heard the story about what they did in the past, what's the reason now, and what can I do with it. They're going to crunch a number. They're going to see the average one bedroom is at 700. And you know that in this area, in this street especially, you can go to 850 instead of 700. Now, you're just going to go deep in, and they're going to make the decision and make the offer in the same day, and they're going to grab that deal because they were faster than anybody else that was in spreadsheet for 2-3 days. Mm-hmm. So you need to get the knowledge about a market so deep that you're faster than everybody else.
Yeah. And as you said, to be specialized like in a neighborhood or an area, but then also by asset class, let's say, up to 6 units or 6 to 12 or 24 and above, so that you're a lot more focused in terms of what you're looking for.
Absolutely. It's important. And also the problem with some people, the problem with some investors, they're too much focused. They're too much in the specific part of a neighborhood. Mm-hmm. The problem with that, okay, is if something come to the market and you only have 4 sold property per year in those small neighborhood that they're looking for, you're going to have bidding on the property. Because if you only have 2-3 sold per year, when you have 50
less comparables.
Investors, 50, but you have 50 people who want to buy, and you have 2-3 sales per year, that's not working. Mm-hmm. So when that something happened, that's why I'm telling you need to study. Because someone said, Patrice, I want to study. I want to buy only in, I'll tell you an example, in Roxborough, Pierrefonds, Roxborough. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now, my friend, you're going to have a lot of people who want to buy in the West Island. And you're going to have maybe maximum between 5 to 8 sold property in that city per year apartment building. Mm-hmm. So can you imagine the competition you're going to have? So what I said to the person, now you need to go a little bit more south. You need to go to La Salle. You're going to need to go to Verdun, La Salle, Lachine. Not only north of the 40, but also south of the 40. Okay, and now you're going to have a lot more property coming to the market. So the balance between the buyer and the seller is more equalized than if you go some market that you're going to have 50 buyers for one seller, and you prefer to work when it's going to be about 1 to 10, because right now the market in average about 10 buyers from one seller, mm-hmm. but certain market you're going to have 50 buyers from one seller. Okay, yeah. So you need to equalize that. It's still always going to be in the seller's market, but you see to at least give you some chance over there. So if you're too narrow in the neighborhood, you're going to have problem with it. Mm-hmm. That's something very, very important. People forget about it, and and also to be quick to make your decision. Develop who's the broker is the most active in this area. Try to build a relationship before the property is coming to the market, because when something going to come to the market, the broker will want to go with the people they know more than people they don't know. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot more than numbers. You need to build a relationship, a lot of relationship.
Mm-hmm. And it's true, like brokers will want to not necessarily take the best offer, but take the offer from the investor who's going to close. And I think a lot of people forget that, and they want to make offers with so many conditions. Like anyone who looks at this, like they're going to throw it out. They don't want you.
Exactly. You need to show right away that you're someone who can make his own decision to the broker. You need to make right away know that you're going to be a smooth process. Okay. Mm-hmm. And because always remember that you're never alone. You're always going to have someone else want to buy this property also. That's the market we are right now. Okay. And we need to deal with it. I don't see it change any near future about it.
No.
So I think you need to when you're going to talk to broker to reassure the broker or the seller, if you're a direct transaction, to that you're going to be a smooth one, that show them that you close, that you're only going to renegotiate if something major happening to the due diligence process that you see. And now you're going to need to build a reputation. Okay. We have, like any agency in PMML, of course, we have a blacklist. We have people who when you have because we have so powerful data that you click a name and you see the guys who make, I don't know, maybe 15 offers in the last 2 years with PMML, never close one. So when you call a broker, we just pull out his name and we have all the data, and we can see that, and we have someone who made already 3 transactions on 7 offers. I think he will prefer to go with the person who make 3 transactions on 7 offers and someone who's not. So don't remember that you build a relationship. It's important. And the same thing for the broker, by the way. Okay. And the brokers, some brokers need to be very fair with investor, because people are remembering this. So for me, it's important also.
Okay. Before, I just have one more question for you. And I remember very distinctively when COVID started, you had a very famous 1-hour call with Le Club Investisseur at the end of March. And you mentioned, hey, you know what? One day this is going to go away. A lot of people are flipping out, but now is the time to jump in. And then you predicted that in the fall, a lot of people would be coming back into the market, and that's exactly what happened. And so my question to you is, what do you see for 2021? A lot of people are saying, prices are crazy, it's already too high, but then the best moment to buy is now because you didn't buy a month ago or a year ago. So what do you see coming for 2021?
What we see is, you're right. Last year I was predicted that big rush to what I said precisely. I said now everybody will lose in the stock market, okay? Because the stock market at that time, remember, dropped about 25%, 20, 25. And I said, what's going to happen when the stock market going to go back to where it was before, like in January, February 2020. A lot of people will sell their stock at that time and want to put the property, the money in the real estate. Okay. And that's exactly what happened, because remember last fall, not all, but many of the stocks went up and go back to the previous price. And now we saw last fall incredible bidding after bidding after bidding. The price are going up, and mainly it was new investors to the market. People who never heard about, people who have big fortune, people, a lot of asset, a lot of equity, and they just decide to diversify with an apartment building. And their goal, because it's a new reality. Experienced investors, people who've been in business for a long time, when the real estate, not investor, but real estate investors, they have a way to manage a property, and they have a rationale and what's the upside of property, blah, blah, blah. But when someone who build a big business in tech, or have, example, 7 pharmacy, drugstore, whatever, they build a they build a big, huge business over there. They have a Subway, they have 25 Subway store. And what they do usually is they put money, okay, in the real estate, but not the same goal. For them, real estate right now, apartment building especially, it's you can translate for me, on sait une valeur refuge.
Yeah, it's a store of value.
Exactly. So what they do is they take the profit from the business and they put it in the real estate. But for them, they don't care about the cash on cash. This is not the goal. They just want to secure their profit that they do from.
They want to park $5 million somewhere.
Park it, exactly. And so far, with the equity and the value and the plus value that we see right now in the apartment building, even if the cash flow is not perfect, the cash on cash is under 5%. They still, with appreciation, and also with the capital that they pay on their mortgage, and they buy sometime with 50% down, and they take the rest as a debt. Now, at the end of the day, they're still going to go, and the money will still be secure, because their business is unsecure right now at this time. So we'll see. That's what we saw. So we have, before the COVID, we were about 6 buyers for 1 seller. During the COVID, we have 3 buyers for 1 seller. So the buyer dropped by half. But what happened at that time is the 3 buyers were the right one, because on the 6 buyer, 3 of them were curious about, not really serious investor, but the serious investors stay on the market between that period, and they just buy and buy and buy. We see incredible stuff last year, and also good for them. The crisis bring the interest going down. That's why PMML became the largest commercial brokerage, real estate commercial broking firm for financing last year, because we just exploded with our financing.
Yeah,
it's incredible what happened last year. And you know what? Now a lot of investors, they refinanced last year, and that's what's going to happen to 2021. Now we have all those people came to the market last fall. Since they bought, now they're only people bought between September and November, and now we're in February. People, their investment are already going up by 4 or 5%. Already in the just 4, 5, 6 months, because of all people's coming in. And now what's going to happen is all the people refinance the property because interest rate was low last year. They're also going to come massively to buy property. Okay. So it's going to have a lot of people on the dance floor right now. You see it. Yeah. And it's going to be it's going to be very aggressive. People will do aggressive offers. Now the builders, they cannot build fast enough to sell the property. We see the new construction, and we have a boom, incredible boom, and we're selling everything. We sell property, they're not even construct yet. We just have the buyer and the builder building it anyway. So you see a lot of stuff. People have money, new people in the market, and if you look again with data, you look November, December, and now we just finished January, and you see that the number of transactions compared to the same month 1 year before, it was double transaction.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I don't see any. It's going to stay red all year. I don't see any change, especially right now. Again, we're at the end of January. Last week, the Fed said that they will not move on the
interest rate
for at least 2 years to 2023. So seriously, Axel is going to have a lot of competition in the market, and good for seller, bad for buyers, but still, again, people who are not have the mindset, they will look the parade, and experienced investor, even if they're not happy about what's going on, they're still going to buy.
Yeah,
they're gonna buy. That's what we see right now. People are buying, even if they're not happy that this crazy thing happening, but they still know that now will be cheaper than next year and so on.
Yeah, fully agree with you. So I should have maybe disclosed it. I've actually done 2 financing projects with PMML. One on a refinance and one on a purchase with Mathias. Thank you very much, Mathias, by the way. And we're a little bit in that situation where we refinance and we got the money back in December. So now we're looking to find something. So we're in exactly this situation. It's funny.
I really appreciate the business. By the way, I was not aware of it, so I really appreciate. I really appreciate your business, and that's what's happening right now. And that's what you do. You take advantage of the lowest rate. I don't know how much you close, how much was the interest rate you closed, but you don't have to say it right now. But I think it's incredible what's the opportunity what's happening.
It is. It is, and we got some good help on it. One of them was a fairly difficult file, but we got through it. But that's anyways. Patrice, I could keep talking about this with you for hours, but I want to be really respectful of your time. And just before we finish, where can people find out about you if they're interested in properties, financing, or else?
Of course, you can go to pmml.ca. So pmml.ca. We can maybe put of course, it's going to be audio. So
I'll put it in the show notes.
The show notes, I really appreciate it. Yeah. And people, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Please follow me, interact with me. My goal is to create value in the market. Okay, whatever is with the podcast that I'm doing right now with you, that's how PML was built. We were the first to give free data to the market with our report. And by the way, you go to pmml.ca/report. You're going to have many reports. This year alone, in 2021, we're going to have 72 reports going out.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, example, multifamily, each quarter. So that's for multifamily, we're going to have office building, industrial building. We're going to have new construction, senior residence. We're going to have financing. We're going to have, anyway, it's so on. In each region, we're going to have also. And so that's the best way to follow us. It's go and download the report, see the video. We have over 300 video to learn about investment, mainly in French. I just need to say this right now, but a couple of in English, of course. And maybe we can hear your story. Axel, would be nice to invite you and you tell us your story, how you start real estate and what's your plan. So PMML.tv for the show, and PMML.ca. And right now, if you're listening to Spotify or any audio, we're everywhere. We're of course SoundCloud, and from there we are everywhere on audio. So I really appreciate, Axel, the invitation, and my goal is to create value for people. So follow me directly on Instagram on my personal name, and also on Facebook and LinkedIn also.
Yeah, you do have a lot of content out there under PMML. Patrice, thank you so much for your time. It's been a real pleasure, and every time I listen to you, I walk away feeling even more inspired. So thank you, because it'll give me a good kick for the afternoon. And to all of you, if you enjoy the show and would like to keep supporting us, please subscribe, leave us a rating, leave us some comments, send me some questions. I'll be more than happy to address them next time when I get a chance. So thank you very much for listening in, and see you next week.